Hello. I've been meaning to show you guys something for a while. I have a habit of collecting cameras, it seems, especially video cameras lately, and the one camera type that I think I've been the most interested in, simply because of its novelty to me, is Newvicon tube cameras. Now, the Newvicon tube was produced by Panasonic. It's quite an interesting little bit of technology, and it goes far over my head, so I'm not explaining it in this video, unfortunately. Look forward to it, though, because I might, if I get smart enough. We'll see. But today I have 3 cameras to show you. 2 functioning, 1, unfortunately, formerly functioning. To get started, let me show you one of the smallest in my range, the Panasonic PK450B. The Panasonic PK450B is a small handheld camera. It obviously is intended to be used out in the field. You'd most likely pair this with one of the portable Panasonic VCRs, or any other VCR capable of taking an EIJ camera connection, one of those 10-pin ones from back in the day. If you had a portable VCR that could take that in, it would both power and take video and audio if you use this mic jack on the top. The Newvicon tube here is quite interesting. From what I understand, it produces analog video by scanning essentially the light coming in, almost the exact opposite as a CRT. Again, I don't quite get the science behind it, but god damn if it isn't cool. Now, this particular camera here was produced in October 1984 as per this serial number and manufacturer stamp on the bottom of it, and it definitely looks it. I have to admit, I love the sleek design of this thing, and I absolutely adore this blue stripe that goes around the top. It's quite light and fairly easy to hold as well, which is certainly saying something when you see the next 2 cameras. They are a little bulkier. But going back to the PK450 here, it has autofocus, and I can go ahead and demonstrate that to you very quickly here. So now, we're going to take this Panasonic power supply with an EIJ plug right here, and we're going to plug our guy in. Now, we have to make sure we do it indent up, and then just go ahead and screw this in. Okay, and now we turn it on. Power is not going to the camera just yet, however. We need to flick this switch here from standby to operate. As you can see here, our lens is rotating. Currently, it's autofocusing using this small hole here on the front. You see that right there? And as I move it about the room, you can watch it rotate. Now, why don't we take a look at the actual video feed and get a slightly meta shot here. Hello, NEX5. Oh, it does not want to focus on that. Oh, there we go. I have to admit, I'm quite impressed by how crisp this image can get, especially for standard definition and, well, frankly, quite old technology at this point. Hello, Frieden. Just some more footage. Here, why don't I just point it over here? You can look in this cabinet of weird things. Another interesting feature of the PK450 is, of course, its built-in date and time function. You can see here, it does, at the very least, appear to display some sort of date and time. However, I'm not 100% sure how you would set that. I assume that the cable here that connects the camera to the power supply is capable of, I suppose, setting this somehow, and maybe there's a battery backup or a capacitor or God, who knows what. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna level with you guys. Trying to find information on any of these cameras is incredibly frustrating. There's nothing but eBay listings and classified listings from across the entire globe, and they're just people selling the PK450B or the WV3180 or whatever other camera I try and look up. None of them really have any concrete info, and service manuals are locked behind paywalls, as well as articles about these cameras. From what I can gather, though, most of these typically sold for about $1,000 when they were first released. I believe this was no exception, although it was slightly less, as it's quite a budget kind of model here. Now, probably my favorite thing to do is, of course, fade. This gives you a little bit of a manual control, essentially, over the iris. And then if you release the button, we come back. Neat. Now, our next camera comes from about the same time, though it may be a little bit newer than the PK450B, and that is the Panasonic Proline WV-3180. Now, this is obviously intended for more of the professional broadcast market. This camera looks like something you could very easily see out in the field for, I don't know, some university paper, some university like news station or something, or maybe even a local news station. Something not necessarily as expensive as some of the other portables, but certainly durable enough and reasonably high quality. Unfortunately, as you can probably tell by the missing hood on this lens, my WV-3180 has seen better days. It took a tumble while it was sitting on a tripod and may have face planted. It hurts. So it seems like the tube isn't quite working correctly anymore. Let's go ahead, we'll plug it in and I can show you what I mean. Here we go. Get it out of here. So of course we go ahead and turn on here first, and you'll immediately tell we've got life in it at the very least. In standby 2 here, we got a little green LED for power. Put it to standby 1. From what I understand, I think standby 2 and standby 1. In standby 2, no power is flowing to the device, essentially, to the high voltage circuitry. I think in standby 1, it starts warming up the tube so that it's ready to go a little bit faster. Let's switch it to on, however. And, ooh. Yeah, it doesn't look great, does it? Yeah, this is essentially what it's become, unfortunately. A bit of a featureless gray mess. That would be the border of the painting, and I think somewhere in here is a camera. Yeah, quite a cool looking camera. I actually have had 2 of these WV line myself, and unfortunately both of them have met with a rather untimely end. The other one got so miscalibrated that I simply don't have the specialty equipment to really diagnose what's going wrong with it, and I don't have the time, money, or really the want to dive too deeply into it. It involves vector scopes and all sorts of nonsense. So I will say though, love the look of these, and I'm kind of tempted to see if I could swap out the tube in this 3180. It is a nice little trooper. Now, I will say, however, I have one that essentially replaces this in form, function, and just about everything else from what I can tell, and I'm excited to show it to you right now, as well as its little partner, which isn't a camera. Get excited. Now, our final camera and its little friend comes from a little bit earlier in the 80s. In fact, it was manufactured sometime in 1981. It is the Panasonic OmniPro PK801. Ooh, it's big. Look at this thing. Now, this thing is a proper camera to me. I gotta admit, it's nice and heavy, feels good on the shoulder, decent weight here in the front as well, but sits perfectly to put the eyepiece right up to your right eye here. And I have to admit, love the lens fixture here. It is just huge. The hood looks so nice, and it's got this nice Tolex on the side, and of course that classic kind of red, green, and, well, formerly blue on this stamp here. Little decal looks like it's dropped out its color. I've seen that on quite a few of these, at least the eBay sales that I've seen in my brief moments of research. This would have retailed for about $900 to $1,000 back in 1981, which I didn't put it into an inflation calculator, but I assume that's a lot. That's a lot of dosh. But this is another Panasonic Newvicon camera, and just like the other ones, it uses the exact same connector. So we can plug this in to our little guy here. Now, I will note, these all use black and white eyepieces, of course. The CRTs inside of here are not some fancy mumbo-jumbo like an Indextron or something like that. This is all very, very bog standard, cheap, get it out the door, mid-80s, early 80s tech, pretty much. just rehashed 3 or so times. Make sure it's off. Okay, and now we turn on our power supply first. The operate standby switch is right back here on the right. So if we go ahead and flick that up, immediately get some high voltage circuitry sounds. And, ooh, come on, buddy. What you doing? Uh-oh. Now, this is quite a rudimentary camera, I will not lie. It does not have the fancy autofocus that the other one has. However, it does have a fairly decent zoom lens, if I can find the peg here. And we can sort of herk and jerk our way through that and get the Sony in focus. I have to admit, though, out of the 3 cameras here, it really does have the crispest image to me, at the very least. So it does appear that this camera is also suffering from some issues, and unfortunately that's not uncommon with Newvicon tubes. These things are very fragile and fairly old. At this point, it's quite difficult to find a Newvicon tube, it seems, that isn't damaged, or at the very least showing its age slowly. However, I do have quite a fascination with these. Just the fact that it is a truly analog process here, essentially, with a tube, an electron tube, scanning incoming images and then representing that as an absurdly fast, high bandwidth stream of data that gets recorded to a piece of tape. That's cool. I like that. I think it's really neat. Now, speaking of tape, and speaking of things that I can't verify if they're working or not, let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, our final bit of fun comes courtesy of RCA, and everyone's favorite brand, Select-O-Vision, the thing that certainly didn't end RCA's reputation as a good manufacturer of electronic goods. If you haven't heard the story, go check out Alex's video, because it's really cool, and also, oh my god, I love Technology Connections so much. It's so good. Oh my god. This, however, is your bog standard portable VHS recorder. Nothing particularly special here, although I will say it does pass the dampening test for this. Ooh. 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 Oh yeah, that's good shit. Now, of course, this Select-O-Vision didn't come with a power supply, so I still need to figure out whether or not this thing even works, really. I assume it probably does. However, I have noticed that all 3 of the main drive belts have desiccated and fallen to pieces. However, it looks like they're fairly easy to source still, more or less. This same mechanism was used quite a few times from what I can tell, so I'm sure that restoration shouldn't be too terrible. But I would love to get this and the Omni Pro, the PK801, working together one day. I would love to go experience firsthand the early 80s home video revolution that was hauling around a VHS cassette recorder as opposed to a reel-to-reel tape recorder. I'm sure this was a massive step up, but maybe not a step down in weight. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. This is kind of something new I wanted to try, just showing you some of the things that I have kind of on the back burner, or maybe even just in my collection that I kind of enjoy or have a little story for each item. If you like this sort of thing, I don't know, give the video a like or leave a comment or something. You guys are nice. You guys are cool. I like you guys. Anyways, I've been Dylan. You've been watching this video, and I hope that you enjoy the remainder of your evening as I will. Peace.